He's not this sweet little southern man that they're trying to sell you. I swear, I swear. Hi, hello, I hope you're having a beautiful, gorgeous, wonderful day and that the book you're reading right now is 5 stars. I'm doing a reading wrap up for the first time ever. Well, that's a lie, because I've done reading wrap ups on my TikTok and Instagram rapid fire, but I've never done in-depth reading wrap up, what I rated it. You get the vibe. Anyway, I'm not going to give any spoilers, nothing that I deem to be a spoiler. It's something that if I heard somebody talk about, I wouldn't be upset if I heard it, if that makes sense, which generally to me, it's like anything within that first 100 pages, or if it's something talked about at the back of the book. Those types of things. And if I do, I will make sure to give verbal and visual cues so that you know and you can skip ahead. Obviously, all of these are just my opinion. If you disagree, that is so okay. All I ask is that you do it politely if you're going to comment something. I've read 26 books this year. I won't be talking fully about all of them. A couple of them have been short poetry collections, so I won't probably be talking about those. I also apologize if you can hear my dog snoring in the background. I don't know if you can see her. She's that little blue thing. She's wearing a Stitch hoodie, which is adorable. She might come and say hi later. We'll see. So let's start off. I'm gonna go in order, but there is a couple of series that I've read this year. And when I get up to the first book in that series, or when I just get up to that series in general, I will just talk about that series in one chunk of the video. So it's not, you don't have to go back and forth to find my opinions on different books from the same series, because I feel like that's kind of pointless. Anyway, let's get into it. The Compound by Aisling Rawle, the first book that I read this year. Considering I've never done one of these videos before, I am sorry if my kind of notes and talking about books is like completely all over the place. I do have notes with me, but I'm kind of just going through and trying to remember and like talking out of I do this thing where I like to talk without thinking. So I've tried my best to make notes for myself this time so I can stay semi on track and say all that I want to say. But apologies if I jump from one point to another. What can you do? You know, hopefully I get better at it, not only as this video goes along, but as I put out more content. This was big on Book Talk for a while, and I think for good reason. I really, really enjoyed this book. I think that it definitely did what the author wanted it to do, and again, especially for a debut novel, I feel like this was really well done and really entertaining. Had something to say. I feel like we're seeing a lot more now of books being put out that don't necessarily have anything to say. And I feel like every book has something to say. There's quotes going around recently from a plethora of different people, but I will just paraphrase what I can remember from the top of my head is that I think yes, Hosier says this: all art is inherently political. All art is political whether or not it's necessarily fully intended, because the act of making art itself is political.
I don't think you can make art without there being a political dimension to it. I don't believe you can.
Do you think you can or you should?
I don't believe you can.
Yeah.
I think a child sits down to draw a picture of a house that has political dimensions and political indications to it. I think the simplest story of somebody walking to a shop is rife with political sort of elements to it. But we tend to think of politics as something that wears a suit and tie and sits in a government building and waffles on or engages in the sort of political football of party politics. But to me, anything that's political, it just concerns the story of who we are and our experience of living. And so a song about going out for a dance on a Saturday night and having a good time in a bar with your friends has loads of political dimensions. I think it's just whether you choose to engage with those dimensions and look upon them, sit over them, and scratch your head and scratch your chin. We don't need to do that all the time. But I don't think you can I think all things are political.
Beautiful. Couldn't agree more. Thank you, Hosier. We love you. I love when a book is made with intention, and this book was sure made with intention. This book holds a huge mirror up to us as a society at our consumerism, because it is wild. And again, something that I have fallen victim to many a time, and I'm working on getting better at it, of just sometimes you buy things and you're like, wow, that was actually a really fucking stupid purchase. I don't know why I did that. So this book follows our main character, Lily. She is a contestant on a reality show. So she wakes up one day at this desert compound and contestants are put there and they're asked to do these tasks, and they get progressively more demanding as the show goes on. And it kind of just is constantly begs the question of you, how far are you willing to go to get something materialistic, money or fame or whatever it is you're seeking from this type of experience. And it's really interesting. We see Lily as she's kind of deciding what she deems worthy and not worthy. A lot of them are for like brand sponsorships. You can do a task and get a brand item, and then you can get sponsored from that brand possibly. So sometimes maybe you might get an offer from a brand to do a task to get one of their items or to get sponsored, but if you don't deem them to be a brand that you want to represent, then maybe you just don't do the task, because you don't have to do the task. Every day your tasks reset. You can do as many tasks as you want, and then after you've completed one you'll get a new task and you can keep doing it and keep getting rewards. But if you decide that you don't want to do one of the tasks, you'll have to wait till the next day for the task to actually reset. So there's kind of that element to it as well. It's like you're weighing up how much to do, how much not to do. All of these things. I thought it was really well done. It was really fast paced. What this book did beautifully was capture the addictiveness of reality TV. The whole time I was reading it, I felt like I was watching a reality show, and I was like, whoa, this is wild. I've never had this feeling while reading a book before. I think the main things that this book comments on is definitely desire, fear of perception, surveillance, and performance. And survival as well, actually. And it gets pretty wild towards the end, and it gets a bit crazy. It's also one of those books that has more of an open ending, which sparked obviously conversation, because that's always a big thing people love to talk about. People hate an open ending. I personally love them. I love them because it actually forces you to think and to come up with your own version of what you believe could have happened or is going to happen or whatever it is based on your experience reading it. And I think it's really interesting hearing different people's perspectives, because at the end of the day, you're reading the same book, but it's so interesting to me how so many different people can come up with their own different conclusions. Obviously, the question, how far are you willing to go, is posed time and time again in this book, and in ways that are complex, simple, necessary, not necessary, where things could clearly just be avoided in favor of being a good person. So it's really interesting seeing each of the characters make those decisions and how they interact with each other, because they obviously don't have to tell each other as well. They don't have to tell each other what their tasks are. So you never really, yes, okay, I'm gonna get better at this. Another thing is that they don't have to tell each other what their tasks are. So there's individual tasks and then there's group tasks, and it's the same rules. If you complete a task, a new one comes, so you can obviously get more and more and more rewards. But for the individual tasks, you don't have to tell anyone what your task is. So you kind of also never know who is being honest and real with you, because they could just be doing something for their own personal gain. So who can you trust when you can't trust anyone? Even yourself. Crazy. The group tasks are also really interesting as well, because in order for the group to complete them, every single person in the group has to participate in or complete a challenge. I gave this book 5 stars overall. Cannot wait to see what this author does next. Highly recommend. Really good food for thought. I guess I'm just gonna put the books behind me because this stack is huge. The next book that I read was Prophecy of the Seven by K.S. Elliott. K.S. Elliott is actually, I'm fortunate enough to be able to call her a friend. I met her online. She is absolutely incredible, and she is an author, duh. I have her debut duology, incredible, love. It's such a fun time. So I read the second book because that one came out the beginning of this year. I was lucky enough to be able to receive an early copy. I had such a fun time with these characters again. Same in Curse of the Seven. I'll tell you about Curse of the Seven so you kind of get an idea of what the duology is about without giving anything away from the second book. So this book follows our main character, Alexis. She lives in the kingdom of Omnia, and she has been fantasizing for most of her life about how she wants to kill the king, because the king killed her parent. Classic revenge story, love. So this book is all about her trying to build up an army and people to fight this cause with her and fight back against corrupt leaders and build a rebellion. She doesn't necessarily care how or who, she just knows that she wants to do it and nothing is going to stop her, and she's determined, and sometimes that can also get in her way a little bit because she's so headstrong and so driven by this need for revenge that sometimes she might accidentally hurt the people around her without realizing. This, to me, for some reason, when I was reading it, and same with the second one, they felt very nostalgic. It gave me that feeling of when you sit down and you rewatch like a childhood animated movie. It just had all of the feel goods, all of the exciting action. I don't know, I had a really good time reading this book. I gave the series overall, I think, a 3.5. I thought this was a really solid first duology. So, and I'm very excited. She's coming out with another book called Alton Academy. That one I'm really freaking excited for. It's like a magic academy. The magic system is based around cards, and it's at this academy, and the main character has wanted to go there for her whole life, and she finally gets to go, and then students start dying, and it is around the mystery of that. And okay, now we've got to solve this mystery of who's killing all the students, and am I next? Obviously a very extremely creative brain. She also has a poetry collection, which is another thing that I read this year again, this is the poetry collection. It's very short and sweet. Prophecy of the Seven, Curse of the Seven, highly recommend. Love K.S. Elliott. Can't wait to see what she does. She's already such an amazing, incredible person, and I cannot wait to see her grow as a writer and author and all the things. Then I read Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood. I read this on Kindle, and I do really want to get a physical version because I did really enjoy this book. It's a YA romance, and it follows our main character Mallory, who has a really bad history and past with chess, and she has sworn off chess even though she is basically a prodigy. She's incredible. All of her friends and family know how good she is, but she's not interested. She's like, no, not for me anymore. Not doing it. That is until she needs to, because she ends up needing to enter back into the world of chess for her sisters and her family, because she has the opportunity to be able to win a lot of money, which is what her family needs, because her mum is sick and she needs to be able to provide for them. And she ends up going up against one of the biggest names in chess, and she ends up beating him. And that obviously everyone loses their mind. They're like, what the heck? Who is this rookie? Like, nobody knows who she is. How has she come in and beat like the best player, blah blah blah. And then it sparks a little bit of a romance, because he's obviously intrigued, and he's like, wait, where did you come from? Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from, Cat Nigel? Anyway, it was so cute. I was kicking my feet the whole time. I was really gripped the whole time by the story. Let me give you an example of what reading this book felt like. And I would be like, oh my god. Anyway, that was a really bad example, but you're welcome. People who say romance books like this are cringe themselves. I just think you're boring. Love is not dead. Cringe is a mindset, and you're taking joy away from yourself and everyone around you. I want to say this is my first Ali Hazelwood book, but I could be lying. But I'm 99% sure this is my first Ali Hazelwood book, and I absolutely loved it. I'm really excited to read all of her stuff. I'm going to try and read The Love Hypothesis before it comes out, because I would like to read the book before I watched the movie. And the whole story, I really liked, because the whole story you're kind of following them, and obviously there's a lot of publicity that goes into the chess world, like any other popular sport type thing. So you're experiencing these characters as they're kind of trying to keep their personal lives private, but also equally have this image of them in the limelight. Game Changer and Heated Rivalry by Rachel Reed. This is mainly going to be about game changers, because I ended up DNFing Heated Rivalry. Listen, I have a lot to say about this, because I think that the books were bad. That's my opinion. I think that the books were bad. I think they were poorly written. I think that 90% of the books don't have to actually be what's in the books. I think that their stories and the baseline, the outline of both of these books, beautiful, love, really important. I just think they were poorly executed. However, absolutely love the TV show. For that reason I believe that the TV show took all of the good parts of the books and squeezed it all into the TV show and grew it from that, so it could be even more than just the good bits from the books, because obviously there's extra scenes that they added that weren't in the books. And that's just what happens when you get somebody who works on a project who actually believes it and loves it. Like, somebody saw this thing being Heated Rivalry, and saw the potential in it and was like, I love this, I'm gonna turn it into something everybody can watch and everyone should watch. And it's an amazing show. I absolutely loved it. Obviously the actors, the writers, everyone did an incredible job on that show. Also, I think that because I believe that it was a small Canadian studio that picked it up, I think that the way that blew up was really good, because it put a lot of pressure on the larger studios to be like, hey, this is what the people want. The people want projects that you guys actually give a fuck about, not just recycled trash, basically. Anyway, let's get into the actual book, because the actual book follows Kip and Scott. Kip works at a juice bar, and he has been openly out for a while now. Scott is the captain captain of the like really popular hockey team. He goes into this juice store. He's been having a bit of a hard time. He's been in a little bit of a slump hockey wise. He goes into this juice store. He meets Kip. They have this like friendly, flirty banter. He gets this juice. He goes he plays, and he plays really well. So he goes back and he kind of goes, okay, well, I need to like make this a little bit of a ritual because clearly this smoothie is giving me good luck. And so him and Kip banter back and forth. They have this instant lustful connection, which is another gripe that I have with it. I hate insta love. That's what it felt like. That's what it was. It was just, I think you're hot. I think you're hot. We're gonna bang uglies. Or what's it called? Smoosh booties, bang uglies, whatever it is. We're gonna pair up sexually, and it's not really gonna be anything more than that for like 80% of the book. Yes! I just thought most of it was really forgettable and uninteresting until it wasn't. Like the last 5 to 10 chapters, I would say I really enjoyed, and it focused more on them as people and the character development and yada yada yada. I do think that it's such a shame that the book didn't allow us to see Kip and Scott as more than just their lust for each other. I think that there was a lot of potential there to make them more whole characters. Yeah, I don't know. That was just my feeling reading the book, and I love the TV show. My favorite episode from Heated Rivalry was literally their episode. I think they did it beautifully and I loved it. I cannot wait for whatever the next season holds. Overall, 2 stars to Game Changer. I don't ever give star ratings to books that I DNF, so I didn't give a star rating to Heated Rivalry. I didn't finish it. I was just like, I'm just gonna watch the TV show and hope it's better than the books. And thank God it was. It was amazing. I love it. And to conclude, are the books worth reading? I would say no. I would say you can skip them. I would say that you would get much more enjoyment and enrichment out of just watching the TV show. Take that as you will. It goes without saying I will probably not be reading any more of the series. I'll just wait till it comes out on TV because I know that it'll be executed 10 times better. Featuring by Emily Henry. I love Emily Henry. I've only read 3 of her books. This was the second book that I read. Sorry, I was just checking my stack. I was like, was this the second or the third? Oh, I loved it. Oh, how I loved this book. A hopeless romantic turned cynic, trying to convince a cynic to be a hopeless romantic. Sign me the hell up. Are you actually kidding me? Also, them genre swapping. Okay, so basically, Beach Read follows our 2 main characters, January and Gus Andrews. They're both in a slump for their respective genres. Gus is more of a moody fiction writer and January is a romance writer, and they have both hit a wall when it comes to their writing, and both of their agents are demanding that they, you know, release more and write more. And so they both end up in this small town. They end up being neighbors with each other. Hello. They don't get off on the best foot to start with, but then they end up coming up with this deal to swap genres, and then they kind of go, okay, we're gonna swap genres. Gus is now gonna write a romance book, and January is now gonna write this really cynical fiction story. Or not necessarily cynical, I guess, but like, you know, it's not gonna be her usual happy-go-lucky romance story that she usually writes. And they come up with this deal that the first person to get, I think it's the most sales, or something to do with like getting bestseller or something in the new genre that they're writing for. Forgive my memory, it was a while ago. I need to do these wrap-ups more frequently so that I'm not ripping parts out of my brain to remember. But big fan of Emily Henry because she doesn't just write romance, she writes people. She writes stories that have romance in them. And I think that that is so important. I think I also just find, when I'm reading a romance book and all I'm learning about these characters is just that they're really into each other. I just don't care because it's like, I know that you should, in theory, have your whole entire other life. You should have other worries and other concerns other than, oh my god, did I like look too awkward? Does he know that I like him or whatever? These characters both have their own issues that they're dealing with privately that have nothing to do with each other. Oh my god, how could I forget? They're also college rivals. So they went to college together and they were kind of rivals. They were always fighting for that top spot in class. You know how it goes. We love a rivals to lovers. But I love how this book explores just the awkwardness of wanting somebody and liking somebody when they've explicitly told you that they're like not interested and they're not looking for anything, but your mind and body and brain, and they just can't help it. They're like, hey, and this sucks because I'm really into you. So yeah. It explores so many good things, like the awkwardness of wanting somebody who's explicitly told you not to love them, coming to terms with the fact that your parents aren't who you built them up to be in your head. And it goes into that hard thing of wanting to stay somewhere just because it's what you know, but that doesn't mean that it's necessarily the best option. All of these things in this short little book, you wouldn't believe me, but Emily Henry, we all bow down. We all bow down. 4 stars. Love, 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 love. Anyway, I'm really shit at giving summaries of what books are about. Okay, I'm gonna try and re-explain this now that I've collected myself a little bit more. January and Gus, both writers, both broke, both have writer's block. Not good. They are off in this small little town to try and solve their writer's block, and they come up with the agreement that they will genre swap because they both need to write a bestseller by the end of summer. So they've only got a couple of months, and they both tried everything that they're used to, so they think, fuck it, why not? Let's genre swap, see who can actually complete their goal, and hopefully we can both get published and it'll be all happy-go-lucky rainbows and sunshines. And it follows them on this journey as they kind of help each other to pull from different creative lenses because they've never really stepped outside of their own genres before, and they're kind of educating each other on the stereotypes that each of their genres holds just from being judged too closely. January is teaching Gus that there's more to romance than just happily ever after, and Gus is teaching January that there's darker, deeper fiction than just being a cynic. 4 stars. The Sunbird by Sara Haddad. This one's a really short one. I gave this one 5 stars. I absolutely loved this. The historical events that happen in this book are very much real and did happen, but this story in particular is fiction. So this main character is fiction, this story is fiction, but it's set in a real historical event, if that makes sense. The Sunbird basically follows Nabila Yasmin. She's currently in her 80s and she's living in her apartment, and she's sort of thinking back on her whole life for the first time, really, and reflecting on when she was 6. She was expelled with her family from their village in Palestine, and it's told in 2 different time frames of when she's younger and obviously now when she's older, and she's reflecting on all that she's been through. And it's about all of the weight that she still carries from those events from early on in her life. And even though now she is safe and she knows that she will never be in the same situation again that she was, it still is 100% part of her, and she carries all of that all the time, no matter what. It's so short, but it's so powerful, and the prose are absolutely gorgeous. The chapters where you're going back into the past to when Nabila is younger, the youthful perspective that Sara Haddad captures is absolutely beautiful, and you feel this curiosity and this playfulness and this innocence in the writing. Books like this and a couple other on my list that are so important and remind me why it's so important that we keep hold of and collect physical media, because these stories can't be taken from us. Obviously, physically, I guess if my house was to burn down, this story could be taken from me, but it's the reason why it's so important, like why libraries are incredible and an incredible resource and so important for data collection and history. It's so that multiple stories can be kept about the same historical events, so that we're not just shoved government propaganda and told, yep, this is fact, this is truth, let's move on. We need to be listening to those stories because they tell us more than the government ever will. Yes, 5 stars. I read a lot of big ones this year, so my next one is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Unfortunately, literally counteracting the one and only Hosier that I quoted earlier, Andy Weir has unfortunately come out with multiple statements saying that he doesn't believe that anything that he's written is political or should be viewed in a political lens, which I think is really disappointing and really sad, considering the stories that he tells are so interesting and, hey, so political. Science fiction, hi. Sorry, that genre in itself is just political, as like there's so many different aspects to that you can go into politics with. But moving on from that, amaze. If you know, you know. I was worried that I was going to be too stupid to understand this. Okay, first of all, 4 stars. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. Let me get that out of the way. I was worried that I was going to be too dumb to understand this book. That's not the case. The science in this is really accessible, because even if you don't necessarily understand exactly what he's saying, the more he talks and the more it goes on, the more you understand, and you can kind of put 2 and 2 together. And if you don't understand it at all, it actually kind of doesn't matter at the end of the day, because it's one part of the story, but the story is so much more than just the maths and the science of it all. I think you'll still be able to enjoy it. I highly recommend audiobooking. Immersive read, I think that's what it's called, where you like read it and have the audiobook playing in your ears at the same time. I'd never done that before. Highly recommend it with this book if you haven't already. And if you don't know what this book is about, this book follows our main character. What the fuck is his name? Ryland Grace, how could I forget? This follows our main character, Ryland Grace, and he is a middle school teacher, a middle school science teacher, and he's really passionate about what he does. He loves teaching the kids about all things science, and he's really freaking smart, and he's written multiple reports, I think they're called, reports, essays, he's done scientific studies before and like put them out, and they haven't necessarily been received the best. And he's also he's very lonely, he feels very lost, and he doesn't really know. He's kind of just accepted what his life is, but he's not necessarily fully, completely happy and fulfilled with it, but he has accepted it for what it is. So he goes up to space with a team, but when he wakes up, he discovers that his whole team has died on the journey to space, which very sad. So he's now alone in space, and he also happens to have amnesia, so he doesn't remember why he's there or what he's doing, so he's got to piece it together before time runs out, and he meets somebody along the way, or something along the way, and they kind of team up to save the world. Loved this story. Big shame about the author. Overall, this was so silly, so fun, and all wrapped up in a little space burrito. Amaze, amaze, amaze. And what more could you want, really, at the end of the day? Amaze, amaze, amaze. This next one, similar to the last one, I as well thought that I was going to be too stupid to understand it, because everybody online was saying that you needed to read like 50,000 things before you could read this. Not true. I think this year I've learnt that I'm smarter than I think I am sometimes, so that's great. It's Katabasis by R.F. Kuang. This one also sparked a lot of conversation, not only because people thought, too convoluted, not convoluted enough, all the things. Again, I really like this. I gave this one 4 stars. This was my first R.F. Kuang book. I know some people have their opinions about that. Some people are like, why would you start with this one when this one supposedly is like her hardest to get through? I'm not gonna sit here and say this was the most easy book to get through. It was definitely challenging, but I like that in a book. I like a book that I have to sit with for a little bit and be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have to think about this, switch on my big brain for a moment. This follows our main character Alice, who is at Cambridge University. She's studying analytical magic, and her only goal ever in life is to be one of the brightest minds of analytical magic. And so her goal has been to study under this specific Professor Grimes. Thank you. We're getting there. My memory is coming back to me. Professor Grimes, because he is like super big brain. This is also set in like the 80s or the 70s, I believe. This book acts as a massive critique for the academic world and all of its flaws within all of those systems there. So I thought that was really interesting to read through. And obviously R.F. Kuang is just absolutely brilliant and so freaking smart. Alice, obviously. And she's in a bit of a dilemma, as most people are at the start of a book, because the professor that she needs to study under in order to achieve all of her goals and feel fulfilled in life has just died. So what does she decide she's going to do? She decides that she's going to go to hell to find him so that she can get her paper signed off by him and get a recommendation letter so that she can still succeed. She's striving for this validation. That's what she needs. Her whole sense of worth comes from academic validation specifically. So obviously she's willing to travel to hell, even though it means losing half of your remaining lifespan. And her academic rival, Peter, decides that he's going to join her for his own reasons that he's not disclosing. So that is obviously pissing Alice off, because she's like, well, first of all, fuck you, I wanted to do this on my own. Second of all, why won't you just tell me why you're coming with me? Stop being a freak. This whole chunky book follows their whole journey through hell trying to find their professor and their relationship as that develops and things unfold, and we're finding out things about their past and why they have a bit of a rocky relationship, etc, etc. I have never felt so many conflicting emotions about a character in such a short span. I pitied, I sympathized, I disagreed with, I loathed, and I loved Alice all at the same time. She's such a complex character. Again, yeah, like you pity her one minute and then the next you're frustrated with her because you're like, well, you are so smart and you understand all of these things, yet you still won't admit certain things to yourself that will help you tremendously to move forward and to actually achieve goals that are fulfilling to you. But I digress. That being said, that the book didn't quite feel satisfying enough to me to be 5 stars because it didn't flesh out that much outside of Alice's character arc. I would have really liked to explore some of the different parts of hell more than we did. And it felt like in the beginning we got really in depth and they were going through, but then as the book progressed, it felt like it was just getting sped through really quickly. Yeah, we weren't sitting in each different part of hell, which is what I thought initially was going to happen. But maybe that's my bad. I just was really interested in the way that R.F. Kuang built her own version of hell inside this universe. Overall, I would say I loved how much my brain was working while reading this book and thinking about all the different philosophical concepts that are thrown in here as well. I really liked it, and I'm very excited to read the rest of R.F. Kuang's work. Okay, one of my favorite books that I've read this year so far. Well, technically 2. Legendborn and Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn. Wow. I'm new to fantasy. Fantasy is one of those genres for me where I feel like it's dumb because whoa, hey, let me finish that sentence because that's not what I meant. I meant my thought and my line of thinking is dumb. My line of thinking with fantasy is dumb because my brain goes, oh my god, there's too many fantasy books out there. How will I ever find ones that I actually really like without feeling like I'm just rereading the same recycled stuff over and over and over again? You could literally argue that for every single genre. But for some reason, my brain only does it with fantasy. So I tend to stay away from it until I find a book that really, really sticks out to me. And obviously Legendborn did that. I mean, first of all, look at these covers. Absolutely beautiful, gorgeous, stunning. I'd also just heard all of my faves talk about these books. Obviously, I was influenced, so I had to read them. Basically, if you don't know the Legendborn cycle. So Brie Matthews is 16 and her mum has just died in a really tragic accident, and she's about to go off to a program at a university for bright young students, and she's going there with her best friend Alice. Love Alice, love Brie, love their friendship. Anyway, her first night on campus, she witnesses a magical attack. And so she's like, whoa, what the heck is going on? And she kind of gets herself into this whole world of secret societies and this magic system. And if you don't know as well, Legendborn is but inspired by the Legend of Arthur. So a lot of the magic system has to do with the Legend of Arthur, which is really interesting because I didn't know that much about the Legend of Arthur. I knew like little bits, obviously, because very popular legend, but I love so much what Tracy Deonn has done with it and made it her absolute own. Oh my god, it's incredible. It's so good. It's so bingeable. The characters, the way that grief is portrayed in this book as well is so incredible, and I feel like rarely done in such a way that is as impactful as it is in this story. The way that Brie experiences it, and you feel it hit her in waves and just come at random points, and it feels so unnecessary because you're like, why is it happening right now? But you know, anyone who's ever lost somebody, they know that's how it is. It literally will just keep attacking you at all sides. Whenever you think it's not going to, it probably will strike again. Another thing I also absolutely love is that the way that Tracy Deonn has written her young characters is absolutely incredible. I feel like teenagers are often misrepresented in books because a lot of the time teenagers are overlooked by adults and not taken seriously and not seen as whole people. A heavy theme in this book is how history immortalizes often the worst people and not always the truth. As she's now gotten herself into this secret society called the Legendborn, and she's kind of gone undercover because now she believes that the Legendborn might have something to do with her mother's death. So she's figuring this out and she's trying to infiltrate this secret society. They do a great job at making her feel like she's the odd one out, which like you're just reading this and you're like absolutely gritting your teeth every time anyone says something like fucking just so... Oh! I also love the friendship element of this story again because it's like a little like side plot is Brie and Alice, and I love their friendship so much. And it feels so real. It feels so real. It's that, it has that teenage angst and that emotion and that love and oh my god, yeah. This is also, hey, can I just say this is also the only time I've ever read the whole I can't tell my best friend anything trope in a book before, and it's actually felt plausible. It's actually felt like, okay, yes, I fully agree with you. This makes sense as to why you can't, because the stakes feel real. The stakes feel so real. It is life or death out here, guys. Usually every time I read that, when the main character's like, oh, you know, I can't tell my best friend, and then they don't have a fucking reason. It's like, Brie had a reason, and it like made sense, and yeah, so good, so good. And it goes into that, and then it obviously that creates this rift between them for a little bit of the book. I love the way that Tracy Deonn did that and explored that. So yes, Legendborn, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. Cannot recommend this series enough. Please go read it. Book 2, without giving too much away, continues on the story. This, for me, Bloodmarked, goes in the same category as Catching Fire. Second book, Supremacy. Oh my god. I was so scared. I was so scared to read Bloodmarked because I loved Legendborn so much, and I was like, please tell me the second book is gonna hit just as hard. It hit harder. It hit so much harder. I cannot wait to read Oathbound. Oh my goodness. Even just holding these books right now, I'm just like, I want to stop filming and I just want to read. And I honestly, you know what, I might do that. I might do that. I might take a break because I'm like not even halfway through my stack and I'm tired and I think my throat hurts. I keep going, I think I'm getting sick, but I don't think I'm getting sick. I think my throat just hurts from talking because I haven't sat down and talked this long in a really long time. The angst, the lore, the secret societies, the legend, the world, the characters, everything, just wow. Wow. Yes. 5 stars again. 5 stars, 5 stars. 10 stars overall. Hi, I'm back. I took a break because I didn't realize how long this was gonna take me, and I just went outside and we're currently building a deck outside. So I just spent the last hour and a bit. The amount of time it took me was the entirety of Noah Kahan's new album because that's what I listened to as I did it. I was doing all the screws for the deck and stuff like that. Anyway, back to the books. My favorite nonfiction from this year that I've read so far actually is That You, Ruthie by Ruth Hegarty. This is incredible. This is Ruth Hegarty's story, obviously. It's a memoir. It follows her time growing up on a mission in Queensland, which is basically what they used to call these places that were essentially settlements established by the government to enforce control and assimilate and house First Nations people. Awful places. They resulted in the forced removal of thousands and thousands of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. And in these places, they would often suppress language and culture, so they were completely disconnecting people from their culture and their land, which is absolutely disgusting. And the events of this book happened less than 100 years ago, which to me is just even more appalling and disgusting. I highly recommend reading this book. It's so insightful hearing Ruth Hegarty's story about being a dormitory girl. She often refers to dormitory girl life on the mission. Her story is specifically about the Cherbourg Aboriginal settlement, and this takes place mainly in the 1930s. A little history lesson for you before we get in. Continuing the theme of before, this is another extremely important reason why we need to collect physical media and hear stories from everyone, not just the same people over and over again and not just the government, because it's stories like these that get lost. And there's actually even, it was one of my favorite parts while reading this, there's a part where she's talking about before she decided to write this book, and she's having conversations with other women who also grew up around her in the settlement, and they're talking about how it's Ruth that has to write it. And if she doesn't, then the story is lost forever. Because that's what happens. If we don't hear the stories from these people, these important people, we lose crucial bits of history forever. Thank you, Ruth, for sharing your story. It's so important to Australia and its history. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. And I can't believe our history is so horrific and horrendous towards our Indigenous people. This book was so enlightening, but it also just, it made me incredibly angry just thinking about all of the awful, horrific parts of Australia's history and this being a significant part of it. And again, like I said before, the fact that this all happened less than 100 years ago. The last mission only closed in 1987, which is not that long ago, and that's absolutely insane to think about. I'm going to give you a little bit of history. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the Queensland government passed strict legislation, most notably the Aboriginals Protection and Restriction of the Sale of Opium Act 1897. Under these laws, Aboriginal reserves and missions were strictly controlled by the government-appointed protectors and church superintendents. Missions, reserves and stations were designed to erase people's culture and identity. People were removed from their land and their families. The last one only closed in 1987, which is absolutely heartbreaking and disgusting, and more than 7,000 Aboriginal people were removed to 64 missions and reserved established throughout Queensland between 1898 and 1939. Although they were geographically isolated, missions and reserves were often established at existing Aboriginal campsites or nearby their freshwater supply. That is a very small smidge of an overview of some of the history, and that's just Queensland, so there's a lot more to research, a lot more to learn. Next up we have another Emily Henry book, Book Lovers. Again, absolutely loved this one, gave it 5 stars. These are some of the funniest and wittiest characters that I've ever had the pleasure of reading. Charlie and Nora seriously feel like just a fizzing bottle of bubbling champagne. Like, I don't know how to explain it other than that. That's what it felt like when I was reading them. They just jumped off of the page and I was just, I related to Nora so much. She's just a fixer at her core. She needs to fix everyone and everything around her. Also, oftentimes to avoid looking inwards and figuring out what she wants to fix within her own life. She wants to be the fixer for everyone around her. Nora is a literary agent, Charlie is an editor. They end up at the same town for a holiday. Well, holiday, getaway, whatever you want to call it. Nora goes for a month with her sister because her sister convinces her, hey, you need a break, let's go on holiday, let's go to this place, I've found it, I've organized it, you're going, let's go. Oh yeah, and Charlie is also kind of like a work nemesis. Like, she does not like Charlie. She thinks he's so rude, so ignorant. And who does she keep bumping into in Sunshine Falls? Charlie. Yeah, I'm so sorry, I'm terrible at explaining books. It's actually crazy. As they keep bumping into each other, something builds, and it's absolutely delicious. I loved it. I ate it up. I would say this book is about a career woman who's sort of molded her life to protect those she loves, mostly that being her sister. But it's also about Nora kind of learning that she's allowed to chase the things that she wants. It's okay to be selfish once in a while, to get a hold of your own life and follow your dreams. Again, Emily Henry's done it again. She hasn't just written a romance, she's written about sisterhood, choosing yourself, healing, all of the amazing, wonderful things. And the whole time I was just thinking that these two characters just really represent two sides of the same coin. Like, they're just meant for each other. Swallow the Air by Tara June Winch. I have a few of Tara June Winch's books that I'm yet to get through, but I'm so excited to, especially after reading this. I picked this one up first because it was the shortest one, and I'm also trying to make my way through the First Nations Classics collection. I believe I own 3 of them so far. I think there's like over 20 of them now, which I will definitely be making my way through. But anyway, this one, Swallow the Air by Tara June Winch. I love this one. I gave this book 4 stars. I really loved the writing style in this. It was also a non-linear timeline, which I love every single time. It's like, take me everywhere all at once. I love it. I love it so much. But this follows our main character, May, after her mother has just died suddenly, and it sort of follows her family journey after that happens and the different paths that all of her family members take, and she's sort of she's raised by her auntie, and her brother takes a really destructive path, and May decides as she grows up that she wants to find her father and discover more about her Aboriginal identity. So she travels from the east coast of Australia all the way up north in hopes of finding her dad and finding out more about him and more information. And it's such a beautiful, beautiful coming of age story. It made me cry a couple of times, I won't lie. In the earlier chapters, there's this real childlikeness to the narration, and it's just, oh my god, it's absolutely beautiful. I loved it. There's also a really interesting part in this book where the narration style changes when a different character kind of takes the reins of the story and is telling their own story. And I've never seen it done before, and it was really, really cool. It was really interesting. But also, that being said, I'm talking about it as if it's this like cute, cozy coming of age story. Emotional whiplash is what this book gave me. There's also there's a bit of a mystery that our MC, May, is sort of chasing throughout this whole story, which also keeps you kind of wanting to turn the page and find out more. But yeah, ultimately it's a coming of age story, and I absolutely loved it. So beautiful. Cannot wait to read more of Tara June Winch. How to Survive a Horror Story by Mallory Arnold. I realized that I've read a lot of debut books this year. I've read This Is One. I also read Painted Hearts by Bec George. What else? Oh fuck, I've forgotten my list. I gave this one 3 stars. Was this the best book I've ever read? No. Did I have a really fun time? Yeah. So that's why it was 3 stars. And also, not gonna lie, if I was not a Clue, Saw, Scooby-Doo escape room girly at heart, this probably would have been rated a little bit lower. This gave me all of my childhood fixes in one, and I can't complain, so keep that in mind. But basically, what is this book about? This book is a multiple POV. It follows 7 different people. They're all authors, and they've been invited to a will reading at the manor of a dead author's house. This dead author they all know because he's like a legend in the horror space. He is a horror author, and they all look up to him in one way or another, and they're all kind of connected to him in some sense. And they've all been invited, and they all believe that they've been invited to receive like a huge sum of money or something really materialistic of value. Because they obviously all can't pass that up, they go. But when they arrive, things start to go wrong when they realize that they can't leave until they solve a riddle in each of the rooms. And if they don't solve the riddle in time, somebody at random will be chosen to die. This was just a super bingeable book. I think I finished this in like 2 sittings. You just need to let this book kind of take you to all of the places that it wants to take you. And also, as the story progresses, you realize that the people in it are all holding a secret from each other, and they're all tied to Mortimer Queen, who is the dead author. You're kind of constantly asking yourself as the story's going on, and you're finding out more who is and who isn't lying. There's this narrative that Mortimer Queen is trying to say, and then everyone else is kind of counteracting it and being like, no, that's not the truth, this is the truth, but you genuinely are constantly asking yourself, I actually don't know who the liars are and who's telling the truth. Very interesting. Also, a moment for the sprayed edges, because that's really freaking cool. That was part of the reason why I picked this book up. You can tell that the author is very inspired by like Clue or Cluedo, like those types of characters. Every character in this book feels very caricature-like. It was also the first horror book that I read. I feel like this is a really good intro to horror, because this was just a little fun taste, and I'm like, oh, okay. Now I want more. It also reminded me kind of like a Knives Out, Glass Onion mystery type of thing. So yeah, if that's up your alley, I definitely think that you might like this. This is probably going to be the longest section of this video. So buckle up, grab a snack, and let's go. The Off-Campus series. This is when I decided to read the Off-Campus series by Elle Kennedy. Yep, that's what I meant to do. I was trying to show you the covers because they are really cute. I like the covers. Well, let's start, because I officially, as of yesterday, I have read all of them. I finished The Goal yesterday as of filming this, so it's fresh in my dome, and I'm still traumatized. The Deal by Elle Kennedy. Hannah and Garrett. Everyone's Amazon Prime TV favorites. A nightmare in the book. And that, I'm probably going to say that a few times while talking about these books. Basically, okay. Okay, this at its core is a fake dating story. Hannah has a crush on this guy at her college, and she needs to get his attention, and then this hockey popular jock dude goes, okay, well, date me and that'll get his attention, because dudes like that don't find girls who are not interested in by other men interesting, if that makes sense. And so then she agrees, and then she goes, well, what are you getting out of it? And he goes, you can tutor me. Your classic fake dating story, you know what I mean? You've also got to keep in mind that these books came out in like 2015 or something like that. I believe this one came out in 2015. So dated, and it shows. It really, really shows. The misogyny is loud and alive in this one, and in all of the rest of them as well. Let's get this out of the way. The TV show, astronomically better. The TV show, I feel like the people who adapted Off-Campus and the people who adapted Heated Rivalry need to like come together and make absolute fucking magic, because oh my god, those like talent, because how can you read something like this or something like this and produce what you produced? Because incredible. I absolutely love every single change that they made, every single character change, every single plot point change, and we're gonna get into that. So I only find these characters redeemable in the show. I disconnect the two. Completely different people for great reasons. I say this and mean it with my full chest for every single one of the Off-Campus boys. Book boys, stay the hell away from me. TV show boys, love you. Love you so much. Wish you all well. You're amazing, wonderful, gorgeous. Thank you, bye. Now that that's out of the way, I'm going to talk about a spoiler for the first book. So if you don't want that, skip to here. The hands-off law. Listen, when I read that bit, I was disgusted. It's just, oh my god, sorry. Also, sorry if I like kind of sound like I have a lisp. I bit my tongue at the back the other day, and now I can't really close this side of my mouth because my tongue is like swollen and in my teeth. Anyway, yeah, hands-off law. Ugh, crazy concept. Hate that. And thank God they didn't keep it in the show. Are you kidding me? I saw so many people were like really upset and mad about that. I fear if you went back and read this book, you'd be like, oh, okay, no, I'm glad that ended up just being like not real. Because ew, that's so gross. Like, you've broken up, you're not talking, like you're on bad terms kind of ish. Like, that's just so weird and possessive and like disgusting behavior. We're not having that in the big 2026. No. And the people who adapted it understood that, and thank you for that. I'm just so happy with every change that they made. I don't know what else to really say. The hands-off law would have made absolutely no sense to Garrett's character if they kept it in the show. Not only because they changed his character just in general from book to show, but because, well, mainly that, but you know, he's grown so much in the show from the beginning of the show to the end of the show when that sort of plot point is happening. It would make no sense for him to completely regress back into like just douchey fucking hockey player. Which, because he never really is in the TV show. That's not really who he is. Like, he has this image, but it's not really who he is. Whereas in the books, that's who he is, and he has the image for a reason. It just, yeah, it wouldn't have made any sense, and I'll, yeah, argue with the wall. Like, it just wouldn't have made any sense. It would have been so childish, and then I would have, if I was Hannah, been like, oh, okay, I'm not getting back together with you. Like, are you serious? Anyway. The Mistake, book number 2, John Logan in the book, nightmare fuel. John Logan in the TV show, I love you so much! Oh my god, I love him so much. He's just a little yearning, he's just a little yearner. He's like, anyway, sorry. I'm so interested to see him and Grace in next season, and then obviously, hopefully it's their season in season 3. Okay, anyway. But yeah, same issues with the last book that I have with this book. Incredibly misogynistic, disgusting behavior and thoughts from all of the men in these books. Oh, scary. My lights just died, so we're gonna run with it. The Mistake, the plot of The Mistake is basically Logan meet Grace, Grace meet Logan, Grace Logan have fun times, Grace realize Logan into best friend's girlfriend. Grace go, ew, no. I respect myself more than that. Fix yourself. I'm not dating somebody who is just trying to get over their friend's girlfriend. And so then he spends the entire book trying to win her back. Love Grace so much. Icon, queen, slay. Yep. Icon. She's the blueprint. The score. Dare I say the most bingeable of the series. But dare I say it's because it's worse than the other two. Oh my god. Dean, when I catch you, it's over. You're gone. You're so gone. Dean, oh my god. Just actually stop. What are you doing? Ew, ew, ew. Most unlikable MMC I have ever read. Most disgusting. I hate Book Dean. I hate Book Dean so much. That man deserves nothing. This is your classic friends with benefits to lovers, I guess. I think it's he falls first, she falls not harder. He falls first and harder, I think. But he's disgusting and I hate him, so I actually don't care. I love Ali and I think she deserves the world, and I think she deserves literally so much better than Dean De Laurentiis. Book Dean. Again, like, I'm not talking about the TV show. I'm talking about the books. Dean's feelings towards the character Sabrina, to me, make him completely irredeemable. He calls her a bitch to her face and just internally, I don't know how many times, but it's just disgusting. If a man is calling a woman a bitch, or if a man is just saying the word bitch, I don't fuck with it. Sorry. You've just given me every reason I need to not talk to you ever again. Fuck you, Dean. Yeah, I actually don't care how well he treats Ali. The way that he thinks about Sabrina is absolutely disgusting when she's actually done fuck all wrong.
It is so bad, I want to give you a 0, but that's not possible. So I give you a 1.
Where do I even begin? Where do I even begin? Where do I even begin? 2 stars, 2 stars, 1 star, 0 stars. But if I must, half a star. For what? I don't know. Nothing, and I mean nothing, in this book made me happy. Oh, I have never met 2 characters that I was just not rooting for at all whatsoever the entire time. There was nothing about these people that I was into. This is a pregnancy trope. That's on the back, not a spoiler. This is a pregnancy trope. I've never read one before. Will never be reading one ever again. This sucked. John Tucker must die. John Tucker must die. Yeah, this John Tucker must die. Again, TV show Tucker. I love that man so much. This man, straight from the pits of hell. Oh my god. Oh, I've got notes on this one because I literally finished it yesterday. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go ahead and say that my review for The Goal is not spoiler free, so please skip to this point in time if you do not want to hear it. It is my most passionate review in this video so far, so you will be missing that. I simply couldn't not talk about the things that went down in this book, so Enjoy. Yeah, all of these books got progressively worse as the series went on. And I cannot believe the series is still going. I will not be continuing. No, I'm keeping my peace. And I will watch the TV show and that will make me feel better. Ooh, okay. I didn't believe that they actually liked each other. I didn't believe that they actually liked each other. First of all, the way that they end up getting into this, again, like fuck buddy relationship is that they're at Malone's, which is like the bar that all of the hockey people, sport people go to. Sabrina is at the bar. John is sitting at his table. He eyes her. She turns around. And then he kind of just is like, oh yeah, I'm gonna try, like blah blah. Mind you, he knows that one of his best mates hates her. So, first of all, it is just kind of weird. But like, you know, guys' politics is different, I guess. They're not bro code, girl code, I don't know, same shit but different, I guess. He goes up to her, is like hitting on her, and she's saying like, look dude, like I'm not into it. Also, don't you, like, your like best mates hate me. One of your best mates hates me. So, like, why are you talking to me? Valid. Hey, I wouldn't trust it. Sorry. Men are evil. No, kidding. Not all men. But yeah, okay. So Tucker is the definition of a nice guy who's actually the devil. Who's actually the devil incarnate. He's a nightmare. And sorry, can I just say coercion is not consent. This whole book is basically a big advertisement to men about like, oh, coercion works. Like, if you keep trying, she'll just get worn down and say yes. Because that's what she did. That's what he did the first time they met. And then the second time. And then convincing her to, like, make them be, like, a thing. The whole time she's like, no, I don't want it. No, I don't want it. Ugh, fine, I guess. Oh, John Tucker must die. John Tucker must die. John Tucker must die. Also, this book has convinced, and I've seen that how this book has somehow fooled so many people into thinking that John Tucker is giving princess treatment when really it's just the fucking bare minimum, and it's not even that because he's the worst. He's not this sweet little southern man that they're trying to sell you. I swear, I swear. Also, can I just say that the pregnancy trope feels like a lazy excuse for writers to make sure that these characters end up together, especially these two. Like, there was actually nothing about them where I was like, oh, you guys should actually be together, not just because one of you got fucking pregnant. Which, first of all, they'd known each other 2 weeks before she got pregnant. 2 freaking weeks. 2 weeks. They don't know a single thing about each other. They don't know a single thing about each other. I read this book. They barely talk about anything other than like base level bare minimum shit. And then they're going, and then she gets pregnant and they're like contemplating like whatever, like blah, 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 like, oh, are we gonna keep it? Like, what's going on? You know what? Also, they cannot fucking communicate with each other for shit. And that was fucking Sabrina's fault. I get that she's supposed to have like all these issues opening up with people and like all of that sort of stuff, but there was some there were some points in this book where I was like, you need to sit down and have a fucking conversation because you're about to have a fucking baby. You're about to have a fucking baby. You cannot be sitting here like, oh, there's literally a quote where she goes, oh yeah, what does she say? She says, if I don't talk about it, then we can pretend that nothing's changed. Something has changed! You're about to have a human being! A human fucking being. You have no money. You're living in an awful environment. Your stepdad is a fucking creepy fucking weird drunk weirdo. Your nana, she's kind of a fucking bitch. Also has said to, like, well, after you told her that you're fucking having a baby, said that she's not gonna fucking help you raise it. Like, you have no plan to really get out of that situation. You're going to law school. You're going to law school next year. Not even next year. She's going to law school, she's going to law school in a couple of months. She's going to law school right as she's had a baby. She's gonna have a newborn, first year of law school at Harvard. I'm not saying that it can't be done. I'm saying that if you have the means to resolve the situation by not having a fucking baby, do it! Also, you don't know this man. You don't know this man. You don't actually know if he's going to be a good father. You don't know if he's going to be a good father because you don't know him. Especially, you don't know if he's going to be a good father just solely based on the way that he treats you. And he doesn't even treat you that well. He treats you bare minimum, but worse than the bare minimum because he's awful. Oh.
I need to calm down. Everything's fine.
Amanda.
I'm an adult.
She's the victim. She's the victim in this whole situation. Their whole relationship is just lust. There's no love there. It's just lust. Every time they're thinking about each other, it's in a sexual way. And you'll get like 2 seconds before they ruin it because they'll be like having a nice time and then they'll ruin it with these just like insane sexual thoughts about each other. Or like he'll say something really fucking gross. And it's just like, be normal. Be normal. Yeah, okay. So there's this one part where she feels like she's fucking really sick. Like she's had to call off of work because she's like throwing up and she's like pale, sweaty, all of that, queasy, whatever. And then they end up going and hanging out together for whatever fucking reason. They're like at a hotel or whatever. And then she feels really fucking sick, so he gives her a massage to make her feel better. Quote, I slide my grip lower to massage her neck. She moans. The sound goes straight to my cock. This woman looks like she's dying. Hey, this woman looks like she's dying and you're turned on.
Okay. Are you kidding?
That's disgusting!
I need to calm down. Everything's fine.
Don't even get me started on him insisting that the baby have his last name. That was my final fucking straw. That was my final fucking straw. When he got so defensive about the baby having his last name. And spoiler alert, the baby gets his last name. I don't know. I'm so scared for his season of the TV show because I genuinely, the writers are better than me because I found none of these books. I don't even know how they did it with this one. I don't know how they did it with this one, how they turned it into what it was. It's so much better. I don't know what they're gonna do with it. Like, they just have to throw this away. We need to burn all copies of this book so that they have to write something completely new because, oh my God, the whole time he's coercing her into doing things and oh my God, it's fucking disgusting. Another quote. Why would I want someone easy? That doesn't sound like any fun. You should only want someone easy. You should only want to sleep with people who want to sleep with you. Oh! Thoughts, John Tucker Must Die. On a complete 180. One of the best books I've read this year. First Time Caller by Bec Borison. I absolutely love this book. Oh my God, this is a masterclass in romance and yearning and perfect no notes. Please. Please, 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 please. I love this book so much. It was so cute. I was, again, kicking my feet the whole time. This basically follows Aidan Valentine, who is the host of a romance radio show, but he's kind of a romance cynic. He doesn't believe in love. Boring. Usually I hate those types of characters where they're just like, love is dead and meaningless and it doesn't exist and the universe is so vast and wide and everything's pointless and whatever. And basically, okay, yes. So he works at this radio show and he gets a call in one night from one of the listeners and it's this little girl and she's basically saying, hey, I want to help my mum find love because she's lonely and blah, blah, blah. And then her mum walks in on her while she's on the phone with this random man and she's like, hey, why are you talking to my daughter, you fucking weirdo creep? And then he has to kind of explain like, hey, this is a radio show, your daughter called in. Basically, their clip of them talking and having that conversation goes viral. So the radio show manager and whatever reaches out to our main character, Lucy, the mother of the girl who called into the show. And she is basically offered a spot on the show and it's like called, like, I don't remember what the segment was called, but basically they're trying to find Lucy love. So people can call in and offer themselves to her or like she just talks about her experience and blah, 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 blah. And she's like not sure about this. She's like, oh, I don't know. I'm kind of like, I'm fine doing what I do. I would rather like focus on my daughter and all of these things and whatnot. And then she eventually says yes. And then it's, you know, again, banter and beautiful yearning. And I was running around my house when I was listening to the audiobook and oh my God, I was running around and I was like, I was just having the best time. I was having the best time. I will say Aiden's main flaw was that he needs to work on his emotional regulation, but other than that, I love Aiden. May we all find the magic of their love story, because oh my goodness, it was just beautiful. It was so beautiful. They do the radio show together and they have a good time. They like learn more about each other and they really care for each other as just people in general before they like fall for each other. And then there's this undeniable pull towards each other and like, oh my God, 4 stars. Cannot wait to read the second one. Also cannot wait to read just more of Bec Borison in general. She might become an auto-by author. We'll see. Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. This book, okay. I gave this book 3.5 stars and it's the first in a series. There's a secret government agency called the Southern Reach and they have been sending people into this place called Area X to investigate it and collect data, and because it's like a really fucked thing has like happened and it's become like an environmental danger disaster zone. Every time they send a group in, something goes horribly wrong. So one of the expeditions, everybody got cancer. One of them, it all ended in mass suicide. Another ended in mass gunfire. And so they just keep having to send people in. This book follows the 12th expedition of 4 women who were sent in, and each of them have different roles. There's the surveyor, the psychologist, the anthropologist, and the biologist. We never learn their names, which I thought was a really interesting aspect of this story and made it more eerie. I think that this book did a perfect job at capturing the exact vibe that it wanted to capture. I just think that unfortunately the payoff for the story wasn't as good as the build-up. The build-up was really good and the pacing I thought was really interesting, but then the actual end of it felt like it fell a little bit flat. It's another one of those stories where it's like none of the characters really fully trust each other, especially when things start to go really weird and wrong when they enter into Area X. So highly recommend this story. Super good read. I will be getting around to the rest of the series. I'm just not in a rush to read the rest of it because it didn't fully grasp me. And it didn't leave me necessarily wanting more. But I think there's 2 other books in the series. It literally says the Southern Reach trilogy on the front of the book, and I always forget that, but yes. A book talk classic. I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Harpman. This book, I feel like every time I hear someone talk about it, they either love it or hate it. I gave it 4 stars. I loved it. It's not misleading, but it's just, I don't think it's the type of book that people think it's gonna be when they read the blurb, because basically, and let me explain, if you don't know what this book is about, this book follows our main character who is the youngest of 39 women who are trapped underground in this like cage type of thing essentially, and there's guards guarding. They all wake up one day and they have no idea how they've gotten there, why they're there, how long it's been. The days just all blur into one, and they're not even sure that the days are happening in normal intervals because they've got nothing except artificial light to tell them when to like go to sleep, when to wake up. Their meals come in and stuff like that. So all they've got is that they've just, I guess, got each other. This story basically follows them as they escape one day when something happens, and it follows them up into the outside world, and they are sort of discovering what the world is outside of that. I absolutely loved it. I think that it's definitely more, I think if you're looking for something more introspective, you'll really like it. It's less of a literal story to follow. It's more food for thought. It's just, yeah, again, it's just like humanity, hope, curiosity, begs the question of like, what does it really mean to be human and be connected, and how important is being connected to your fellow human, even when you don't necessarily want to be, for whatever reason. And for our main character, that's just because what she's known her whole life has basically been isolation, not only from the world, but even just within this group of women trapped together, she feels isolated and like the odd one out, and like she's never really been included because she's a significant amount younger than most of them. Next, I read my first Tessa Bailey book. And well, my first Tessa Bailey novella, and let's just say it didn't make me excited to read her books. I read S'more of You by Tessa Bailey. 0.5 stars. Where do I even begin? Yikes, 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 yikes. This felt so juvenile in all the wrong ways because it's supposed to be about like college age students. If you told me they were like 12 or 13, I would have believed you, because what in the actual living hell? It basically follows these 2 characters who are camp counselors at this like camp that they used to go to as well when they were growing up. The main character, I don't even remember her name, irrelevant. she's really into this other camp counselor, and they've basically been like friends, but they kind of have like a little bantery rivalry thing going. She's never really known if he's going to reciprocate feelings because she's too scared to actually say, hey, I like you. And yeah, they've just never had a real conversation, it seems. And also seems like they don't really see each other outside of the camp either. So there's that. This one should have stayed in the archives, I fear. This should have stayed in the archives or uploaded it to like AO3 as some weird random thing. I hated this so much. It was just so weird. The characters were so unbelievably immature. Yeah, I just hated it. It was so uncomfortable. It's like 94 pages and it felt like too much. Ugh. Anyway, yeah, it follows them as they're like at camp and she's like making a fool out of herself by like trying to like be different, and like she's like, oh, I'm gonna wear makeup and wear lipstick because then maybe he'll notice me and compliment me and then I'll have my opening. It's like, hey, you can just fucking pull him aside and be like, I like you. And if you're that scared, tell him at the end so that it's like you'll have to wait till next year and then hopefully everyone's moved on and forgotten by then if he's not into you. But yeah. Yikes. Anyway, moving on. Painted Hearts by Bec George. This is a small town romance that follows two main characters, Winnie and Everett. Everett owns a whiskey bar and it is one of those buildings that's like connected to other buildings. So right next door has just been sold to Winnie and her business, and she's opening up a paint and sip, and she decides that she's going to paint her entire side of the building bubblegum pink. Mr. Everett over here, doom and gloom. Well, he's actually his dad's just died, so that's why he's a bit doom and gloom. And the bar was his dad's and he's taken over. So you can see why he might be a little bit touchy when she paints her entire side of the building that used to be, you know, him and his dad's bright pink. So they're butting heads from the very get-go. They're not getting along that well. They have this little rivalry start up and he keeps saying like, you need to change the color back, like blah, blah, blah. And she just thinks he's an ass, as she would. Then obviously things develop. Again, this is giving insta-love. The more I was reading it and the more I realized, I was like, no, this is giving insta-love and like kind of insta-lusty. And there was also just really uncomfortable undertones of Winnie feeling like her life has now been saved by this man. And it was just like, ew. Because yuck. No. When has that ever happened? I will say it was cute. It had cute small town charm. I didn't really believe that they were ever into each other because it was like kind of insta-lovey. She kept having this inner dialogue of like, you know, oh, my life's never felt so great, but now that Everett's in it, it's like you should work on maybe making your life feel great while a man isn't in it before you give him all the credit. Because maybe perhaps it could have been because of her paint and sip business thriving in a small town. But no, it was because of Everett. The Light is back. I actually don't know what's better or worse though. I've never tried both, so we'll see. Maybe I just prefer it without light anyway. Yesteryear. The book everybody has been talking about this year, the last few months. I finally got around to finishing it. This was my June book club read of the month, but it took me 2 months because I just got into a little bit of a slump. Not because of the book, just general life shenanigans, but yes, okay, if you don't know, this follows our main character Natalie, who is a trad wife influencer. Her whole life, she tries to present it this one way online, that she lives her life like it's the 1800s, and she's got this perfect family, and they have the perfect ranch and whatever. But nothing is as it seems, is it? Because behind the scenes, she's got a whole team of staff helping her out and doing basically everything for her, and she's just a little bit of a bitch. She's just a little bit of a cow. And one day she wakes up in her 1800s fantasy land, except it's actually a nightmare. It's actually a nightmare because she's not having a good time. She's like, what the actual hell am I doing here? What's going on? And it follows her. It's, yeah, dual timeline, so each chapter alternates between past and present, and you follow her through this journey as she is kind of not even discovering anything about herself. She's a very bitter, angry woman, and she projects her self-hatred onto everyone around her, which was one of the most interesting parts of that about this book to me, was because every character that you're introduced to them through Natalie's lens and through this like hateful, spiteful way. So you've kind of got to, as the reader, dissect what is and isn't the full truth of every situation. It's a really clever book, but it's just not subtle. It's not subtle at all. I think it sparks conversation, but not necessarily deep thought, like I feel like I thought it was going to, which is fine. It was a good time. I gave it 4 stars. It just doesn't really require much of the reader except to just be like, to like nod along and be like, yo, yeah, that's kind of nuts what's happening. And Natalie, like, whoa. I also saw the twist coming. Yeah, there's a plot twist at the end. I saw it coming. I don't even remember what page it was, but I wrote it down in the margins at one point. I was like, I think this is what's happening. And then, spoiler alert, yeah, it was. It was a really interesting book to read, obviously, because the character, you're not supposed to like her and you're not supposed to find her redeeming. I do think that she also felt a little bit 2D though. I feel like there could have been slightly more depth to her than just she's awful and she sucks. It feels like the author maybe hated her too much to even write a little bit outside of it to give her like some, not redeeming qualities, but just something a little bit more to make her feel a little bit more full than just Natalie the trad wife influencer who hates everybody and herself. Wow, I cannot believe that I got through that in one day. I genuinely, when I was like halfway through before, I was like, I might have to do this in 3 parts. Not in 3 videos, but film it on a different day, the rest of it. But we got through. I will definitely be doing every like 2 months a reading wrap up rather than every 6 months, because that was wild. I will not be doing that again. That is everything I've read from January to now, July. It's July 22nd as I'm recording this, but I hope you are having a beautiful, gorgeous, wonderful day and that the book you're reading is 5 stars.